Hello, I'm Dennis Pervensky, and welcome to Grandpa Dennis's Woodturning Studio. Today I want to turn a vase, not just any vase, a vase for live flowers. You have to wait and see how that's going to get done. So here's going to be the mold that I'm going to use. Here's the wood I'll use. It's a strange piece of Birch Burl. I can see the grain in here has a lot of waviness to it. I think this is going to be nice. What I'm going to do is cut this into around 10-inch pieces and then cut them so that they can fit into the mold. Let's see how that works. I drew up the profile of the casting pot. I drew it up on a piece of paper. And I measured the angle in here because the bottom is narrower than the top. I set my large bandsaw at that angle and then cut the two slabs out. It's not exactly a glove, but I think it's fitting pretty good. Now, here's the problem I have. Right down the middle, it's a pretty straight line in there. I don't like straight lines on wood turnings. So that gap right down the middle is going to end up looking just like a straight line. And that's not as attractive for me. So what I'm going to do is take some wood chisels and cut grooves all the way down on each one so that it gives a bit of a wavy pattern. And I think that's going to look a lot better. Rather than carve by hand, I decided to use a power carver. And I think this gives a little bit more of a jagged kind of look, something that I'm after. Now a lot of that is going to get turned away. The resin will go in, the center part will be turned, and the vase will go inside. Okay, so what I need to do is get some mold release inside here. Spray the dust off of them. Clean that out nice. Mix up the resin and away we go. Time for the resin. The product today is from Designer Epoxy and it's the Pro Series. The Pro Series sets up a lot quicker. In 24 hours it should be hardened. So that's what I'm going to be using. And lilac. That's the color that I'm going to be putting in here. I think it's appropriate since this is going to be for flowers, having the lilac color. It's in the vacuum chamber now. I have to release the vacuum to lower the bubbles when it starts getting too much. I don't have a lot of working time with this, maybe 45 minutes. So usually what I do is about a half hour of this kind of on and off, and then about an hour and a half just letting it under vacuum pressure soak into the wood more. But with this product, 45 minutes is sort of the max. Just to let you know, if you're interested in getting some epoxy or resin to do this kind of work, or for any other purpose, go to designerepoxy.com or .ca. When you order from Designer Epoxy, in the cart basket there's a coupon code. Put in Grandpa Dennis and you'll get 10% off. All epoxy is expensive. Designer Epoxy seems to be one of the more reasonably priced, and at 10% off, that's quite a good deal. Now I'll top it up with some leftover resin and put the pressure on. Whatever bubbles are left in there, the pressure should close them all up. Well, the resin is cured. Let's see if I can get it out of the pot. Whoa! Wow. That was nice and easy. Look how much resin has dropped off. Wow. You can feel the oily kind of film that's still on here from the mold release. Well, this is going to be special. I think I'm going to make a decision at the very end on whether I cut this off or not. But to begin with, I think I'm going to leave it on just in case it'll look good if I left it. I can always trim that off at the end. So I'm going to find a center on here, drill a nice little hole in there, and that'll take the spur center. Find the center on this side, put a small hole in there, and that'll take the tailstock. These are not cracks in the resin. What that is are little feet that were inside this casting pot that I used. It's a good thing they didn't grip the piece and prevent me from pulling it out. But it basically just slid out. Well, I think that's going to be nice. That's high on the edges, so if I put my waste block on and glue it on, the majority of the strength is going to be around this edge. And I'd like the majority of the strength to cover the whole bottom. So I'm going to have to put this onto the lathe and true it up a little bit. Take off some of that outside stuff. Now I'm going to put this on between centers. In there, and on this side. I used a 2-hour, 2-part epoxy from Designer Epoxy to glue the waste block to the bottom. I let that dry overnight for maximum strength. I'm going to be using the one-way stronghold chuck to grip this piece. I have calculated the distance in between. That'll go on here, and I'll trim this down to fit. OneWayManufacturing.ca is a recent one of my sponsors, but I have been using their products for over 30 years. I choose my sponsors on quality of product and superior customer service. One Way has them both. Using a drill helps me locate the bottom of the vase and saves me time. I start out with a smaller diameter bit and work my way up to a larger one. Due to the heat generated in this process, the bits get very hot, so I do coat them with a floor wax as often as I can. I do the remaining hollowing with a carbide-tipped cutter from huntertools.com. It's attached to my homemade articulated arm and cuts very quickly. Sanding usually starts at 120 grit and goes all the way up to 1,000. I also cut and carve out the top of the piece to make it look more like flower petals. My finish is 1/3 boiled linseed oil, 1/3 pure tung oil and 1/3 polyurethane. This is a recipe from Sam Maloof, the famous furniture maker. The process is to saturate the piece, then wipe it all off. Let it dry overnight and repeat as many as 4 to 6 times.
Here we have another flower vase. This one is a magenta colored epoxy with some nice blue swirl in it and a birch burl. I have to finish turning off the waste block, but I've run out of time. That's a glass container from the dollar store. These aren't real flowers, but it certainly can hold real flowers. What do you know? It fits. Wow. That's pretty cool. There we have it. Please subscribe and hit the bell for a notification on my next video. A comment would be appreciated, and please share this video with your friends. I'm sure they'll enjoy it as well. Until the next time, keep on turning.
Grandpa Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. Doesn't matter if my beard is gray. Just listen, I have something to say.
Grandpa Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. And this old goat has something to say. So just keep learning from Grandpa Dennis is turning.